updates all over the place for all sorts of kids. Well, not all sorts of kids, some of my kids. So first, I want to start off with a update for James. James got sent back to the orthopedic doctor by his neurologist. And he also had a referral for PT that was a paper referral because they were not doing electronic referrals for that. And so I still needed to drop that off because I hadn't gotten a chance to drive all the way across town, downtown, find parking, and drop that off at the PT place. And I kept hoping that I was going to be there for something else because it's in a building that we're usually in a lot, right next to the hospital. But for some reason, we just haven't been in it. And so my not wanting to take a second trip over there was kind of backfiring because I haven't dropped the thing off yet. Anyways, so James went to the orthopedic doctor and saw him for his legs, and we had some pretty good news. The good news was that the last time he saw this particular doctor was 3 years ago. He looked at it and he said, I thought it was 2 years ago, but he said it was almost 3 years now. And the last time that he saw him, he had severe tibial torsion. And he looked at it now and he said he didn't see any twisting at all in below his knees, that had pretty much straightened out. So that's not where the pigeon-toedness is, because the problem is James falls down probably 20 to 30 times a day. He falls constantly. The reason that he falls is because his right foot turns almost all the way in, and then it catches his left foot, and then he just goes over because he's 4. And that's just going to trip him up every single time. So it's just all day long, this foot turning in, and then the other foot catches it, and then he falls down. And so most of his pants have holes in the left knee because he's always going down on his left knee first. And that just repeated falling down on that side puts holes in the same place on his pants. That's why his doctor was, his teachers had mentioned it, his doctor was concerned. So we went back and he examined him again, and he also looked at, I asked him, because his ankles also pronate in really far, and he said that that didn't look like it had changed significantly at all, that it hadn't gotten any better, that they still go way, way in on his ankles. There's nothing to be done at this point. Or he said that he personally wouldn't recommend doing anything at this point to correct it, that usually it should correct itself before he's 7, that because it interferes with his life, he would also recommend that he start PT and that they could really work with him on PT. He didn't feel like it was so much the way that his hips were that were causing him to fall all the time. He felt that it was more developmental, gross motor problems. In fact, he said, I think this might just kind of be a your kids sort of thing, which is fair because our kids do have some gross motor problems. Like Maggie is really, really good with gross motor things when she's being careful. But if she's gonna fall, it's gonna be when she's going across like an open room when there's nothing in her way. She's probably gonna be able to climb something that's really, really complicated, but she's clumsy when she's not being careful. And Sadie was in the 2nd percentile for gross motor when she was 6. She's always really clumsy. Paul and I are not particularly graceful, so they come by out honestly. Patrick actually is really coordinated out of our kids, and then it sort of, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess. So I did laugh when he said that because that is pretty fair. His suggestion was that because it interfered with his everyday life and keeping up with other kids his age and participating in activities, that he would also strongly suggest that we get PT started. And I asked if their office does it electronically, and he said absolutely, and sent it over to the place that we wanted him to go. So that referral is sent and we were on our way. That isn't going to be another regular appointment, at least. Well, the PT is going to be a regular appointment, but it's not a regular doctor's appointment. He's not going to have to see the orthopedic doctor regularly. I did ask if he needed orthotics again because I could definitely tell his neurologist was thinking that that was a possibility when we were talking, and he said that the orthotics would stop him from pronating inward but that they wouldn't fix the problem. The reason that we did the orthotics when he was so little was basically to help him developmentally keep up with his peers, to help him be able to walk. He can walk now, and it's such a big sensory thing for him, which is why he doesn't wear them at this point, that he said, you know, at PT, they're probably going to push it. If they really, really want him back in orthotics, we can do that. But at this point, he didn't see the need for them, and I'm okay with that. I mean, it doesn't seem to be the turning in that causes him to fall. The turning in this way, it seems to be the turning in this way. So that is the James update. The Sadie update, she saw the pulmonologist today, and this was the first time that she saw this pulmonologist, and he basically went over everything, and he is trying right now to pull back her asthma medications to see if she can go without using the rescue inhaler all day, because right now they have her taking her rescue inhaler. It started off, they had her using, she's on Qvar and Singular, but then they also have her taking her rescue inhaler. First it was 4 times a day, then it was twice a day. He now has her only taking it starting tomorrow before gym. And so she'll only be taking it on the day she has gym, about 20 minutes before gym class, hopefully to prevent anything from happening during gym class, and then as needed also along with that. And so he's hoping that that works out, and if it doesn't work out, then he's gonna consider something other than the Qvar, something like Symbicort or something like that. But we're hoping that this works. He was concerned that she still had to be hospitalized back in April because she was on Prednisone for like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and he said that that really shouldn't have happened, that she shouldn't have gotten that sick when she was on all that medication and all the steroids and everything. That should have prevented her from being hospitalized. And so he said that was concerning, and he kind of wanted to watch her and make sure that there was nothing going on other than asthma because of that. And so he sent her to have another chest x-ray too, because the last 2 chest x-rays were abnormal and showed the cuffing and then the partially collapsed lung. And so she went for another chest x-ray today, and obviously I'm not a radiologist. However, I have been there for the other 2 chest x-rays that were all like white and cloudy and not good looking. I mean, even to like my layman eyes when I was standing there, it was like, I don't think that looks good. Just yeah. When I saw the other 2, when I saw this one, her lungs looked like you could see where her heart was and her lungs, and they looked totally, totally black and clear and not at all like they looked before. So I think that that is going to be really good news, and I can't wait to like hear it at our next appointment. She is going to go back in 8 weeks, so in the middle of summer, just because they're going to be following her closely until they get worked out the right medication combination and amount for her. So that is what is going on with Sadie. She is still having to use her rescue inhaler like once or twice a week, but it seems to be mostly around exercise, PE, recess, when she's active, which I mean, she's active, so that seems to be the biggest trigger for her right now. I think the big trigger when she was in the hospital was that she was sick, and that's the other thing. Her being sick, her allergies, which she has lots of seasonal allergies, and then exercise, which are all kind of inescapable things. And in Tessie news, I am feeling really, really good about how things have been going with Tessie. She still has apneas. I mean, a handful of apneas. Tessie has nights where she doesn't have any apneas. She has nights where she maybe has 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 apneas. They're usually earlier in the night. They're usually at the beginning of the night or in the early morning. Usually during the middle of the night, they're less likely to happen. Sometimes she'll have some at 2 or 3 in the morning, but usually that kind of stretch of night is quiet. However, she hasn't had another like attack where she has a bunch and where she doesn't start breathing on her own in a really long time. Most of the time we're in here, she stops breathing outside of our room in her bed, because our bedrooms are right next to each other. Her alarm goes off and Paul or I will say, "Tessie, honey, breathe," and the alarm goes silent. and then probably 5 minutes later it'll go off again, and we'll go, Tessie, honey, and the alarm will go off. And sometimes one of us will go out there and we'll make sure the electrodes are on her chest properly, we'll make sure the strap is tight, we'll make sure everything's plugged in, but it is a different sound. When she's unplugged, it makes a different sound than it makes when she's not breathing. So sometimes we go out and we check everything, and then usually if everything is plugged in, everything is tight, everything is good, whoever it is, Paul will come in if it's his turn and he'll say like, yeah, no, everything was fine, she wasn't breathing. Or we'll say, yeah, the strap was a little loose and it had slid down a little and I fixed it. Overall, compared to where we were last year when she was having those little like attacks where she stopped breathing over and over and over and over again, and we would have a hard time getting her to start breathing again, we haven't been seeing that. And so I'm really starting to get hopeful that maybe that is a thing of the past, that she's outgrown that. And so I'm really hoping that that is actually the case. Every time in the past that I've started to get hopeful, it's happened again, but this time it's been a lot longer. It hasn't happened since the last time she was in the PQ, and I can't even remember how long ago that was. I mean, had to be 6 months ago at least. So I am really optimistic that maybe, I hope that this is it, and that maybe they were right. Maybe she actually is going to outgrow this, or at least maybe she's going to outgrow the really bad part of it. That would be really wonderful. It's so hard to imagine a world in which I just tuck her into bed every night and she goes to sleep and she's not like hooked up to a machine, but it would be amazing. I can't believe that we've had that thing for over 2 years now. And because I seem to be giving updates about everybody, Patrick is starting feeding therapy after the school year ends. That is, James starts PT, Patch starts feeding therapy. It was bound to happen. It really should have happened 5 years ago. If we had done it then, we wouldn't be here now, but it is going to happen now. He went in for his evaluation, and I'm pretty sure that the therapist didn't think that, well, she told me she didn't think that it was gonna go. She didn't think that he would have a reason to have therapy because she's more for physical reasons and less for sensory reasons, and his reasons are very sensory. But then she did the whole evaluation, and at the end she was like, yeah, he really needs therapy. I'm gonna put it through and see. And she looked, and we get 5 therapy sessions, so it's only 5 sessions, so it will just be for a while this summer. But he is starting that, and she's gonna work with him and try to teach me how to work with him also on it, so that he can eat more than just 10 apples a day and dry bread and a few other things. So that will be amazing, because if you eat just like 10 apples a day, you are always hungry. Always. Definitely cannot live on just apples alone. Although he certainly tries. Last is Maggie. We have some really enormous changes coming up for Maggie, but I am going to save those for another video because this has already gotten really long. That is it for today. If you like this video, I would love it if you'd hit thumbs up, and if you're interested in all things autism, we'd love it if you'd hit subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.